Hey guys, so today we're going to be talking a little bit about Battlefield Hardline, but before we jump in, I wanted to show you guys the results of the poll I asked you to fill out in my previous video. Now of course, if you haven't checked that out yet, basically we were discussing the best maps in Battlefield 4, and I asked you guys to pick your 4 favourite maps throughout the entire game. Now we got over 5,500 votes, so I want to thank you guys for the massive amount of feedback on that poll. Of course, the more votes we get, the more accurate idea we can get onto which maps the Battlefield community like as a whole. So in first place we have Siege of Shanghai with 11% of the vote. To be honest, that probably was to be expected. I know a lot of people do enjoy this map. In second place, also on 11% of the vote, with only about 40 votes less, was Zavod 311, so a very close tie between first and second place. Now in third place, surprisingly, we have Propaganda, of course, one of the latest maps in the game, joining with the Dragon's Teeth DLC. Now I do question whether or not this is because it's a brand new map. If we were to do this poll again in 6 months' time, would this map still appear in the top 3? Maybe, maybe not. It would be interesting to see. Now in fourth place, also on 8%, we have Operation Locker, only 5 votes behind Propaganda, so again a very close tie between third and fourth place. Now just missing the top spot, in 5th place we have Paracel Storm with 8% of the vote. I would have expected that to be in those top 4 positions, but still very close behind Operation Locker. And in 6th place, my favourite map, Flood Zone, with 6% of the vote. Now if you would like to see all the results for yourself and see where your favourite maps came, I will leave a link to the results in the description below. But today I want to talk to you guys about something that somebody asked me recently, and it was a fairly simple question that begged a fairly interesting answer. Do you think Battlefield Hardline will be a success or a flop? Now of course, if I had been asked that a few months ago, my answer would be very different to my answer now. Of course, since we first heard about the release of Battlefield Hardline, we now know it has been pushed back, not only from October-November time 2014, but actually into the early stages of 2015. Now, we have seen some early reports that the release date could be the 31st of March 2015. On the Amazon page, we have now got a release date for the game around that date. Of course, nothing has been confirmed yet, but that kind of date does go along with the general consensus of in the early stages of next year. Now for me, I see this as a good thing for 2 different reasons. The obvious reason, of course, the game is now in longer development time. They don't want to rush the game out as we saw with Battlefield 4. I went to San Francisco and played the game and spoke with the developers. Those guys are very passionate about what they're doing. They want this game to be a success. Of course, Visceral have never developed a Battlefield title before. I don't think they've even developed a first-person online shooter before, so they really want to do well straight out of the gate with this game, and I do feel they are very passionate about making this game, so I do have confidence in them at developing this game, and it can be shown by the fact this game has now been delayed because they just don't feel it's ready enough. But even with that said, I actually felt the beta was a lot more playable than even Battlefield 4 after its release, so already I think Hardline is shaping up to be a much more successful game in terms of development and the way the game plays than Battlefield 4 was. Now the second good point about a delayed release date, not only to do with the development of the game, but also the sales and marketing, is it won't be competing with the new Call of Duty. Now I don't profess to be any kind of sales or marketing expert, but it does seem pretty obvious to me that if you're not competing with the biggest FPS game in the world, you may stand a better chance of sales. Now of course this does mean that Call of Duty will probably have a better sales and returns itself, because it won't be competing with any other real FPS title around its release date in probably November-October time. But of course, if we do see the new Battlefield game released in March time, maybe 3 or 4 months after the Call of Duty game, that's about the time some players may be getting bored of Call of Duty or Battlefield 4 and be looking for a new title to buy into. So having its own standalone release date with no other big FPS released around the same time could actually boost its sales dramatically. Now of course, the other big elephant in the room that we do have to address is of course the theme of the game. I do know there are a lot of people out there who are against the idea of a cops and robbers, police and bad guys themed Battlefield title, and we do all have to agree it definitely isn't in the usual Battlefield style. But will it actually affect sales and the success of the game? Now, I must admit, when we first went to San Francisco and we saw it was going to be a SWAT or police-themed game, I did have my reservations. I was a little bit skeptical, but once we got onto the game, we started playing, and once I think we were all in the beta and we experienced it, once there's RPGs going past, there's vehicles driving around, there's gunfire everywhere, you could be in any themed Battlefield game and you're still having that same enjoyable experience we all love from Battlefield. So I think at first it may put some people off that it isn't your usual military style shooter, but I think when they see videos online and they see the experience people are having online on the multiplayer, I think those kind of little bit of reservation could easily be dropped. So personally, from what I've seen in San Francisco and speaking with the developers and seeing the interest they have in really gathering the Battlefield community's ideas into the game, of course, and since then playing the open beta, also seeing further interviews online and more stuff revealed at Gamescom, I do think this game could be a much more successful title than Battlefield 4. Now, whether or not that means it'll have better sales than Battlefield 4, well, that is a different question. But the game as a whole, the way it plays, the way the online experience plays, I think could be a lot more successful than previous Battlefield titles, including Battlefield 3 and Bad Company 2. But down in the comment section below, I want to hear from you. I want to get an answer to two different questions. One, do you think this game will be successful in sales? And two, do you think it will be successful as a game, the way it plays and the way it is developed? Tell me all down in the comments below. And of course, if you did enjoy the video, a like is always appreciated. But in the meantime, guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.